Welcome friends to my review video of these different various Victron BlueSolar charge controllers. The reason I'm making this video is I wanted to explain my learning curve, what I learned owning these different types of charge controllers, and how I use them even when you don't have solar, when you just have grid electricity. So let's just quickly go through each one of them and see what is the difference between the different ones. Well, first of all, the term BlueSolar is the type of charge controller that Victron makes that does not have Bluetooth. It can have Bluetooth functionality if you connect a Bluetooth dongle through that Connect VE Direct port on the bottom. Each one of these has a VE Direct port. What can you do with the VE Direct port? Well, you could connect it to a computer, Mac, or iOS device or whatever via a USB connection, and it allows you to update the firmware on these and also change the different settings to the type of battery to use. So if you get these charge controllers, I recommend to get at least one cable to be able to program them. You technically just need to program them once. So unless you have the Bluetooth one and you could just wirelessly program it. However, here's the difference though. If you buy the wire is like $30. You know, it's a simple interface wire and only Victron makes it. So there's no third-party made ones. So you have to pay the full price. However, because BlueSolar charge controllers actually are cheaper by probably $10, $20, or $30 as opposed to the Smart Solar. The Smart Solar is the one with the Bluetooth controller built in. My reasoning for not wanting a Bluetooth controller built in is for extra security purpose. Well, for example, if I was some child, if let's say somebody wanted to play a trick on you, let's say this one can output up to 48 volts, and it was a Smart Solar, and maybe it's password protected, I don't know, because I don't have the wireless one. However, if it's not password protected, can't somebody just go and change the voltage from your 12 volt battery to a 48 volt battery? And if it output 48 volts into a 12 volt battery, it might make it stop working, the whole entire system, if not, something even worse than having it stop working. I don't know. I just prefer not to have wireless access to it. Yes, I wouldn't be able to see the wattage coming in. However, these have these little light modes over here. Bulk means it's charging at like maximum rate. So maximum, whatever this one can do 30 amps. So let's say it's charging at the full, absorbing, let's say if you could put enough power into it to charge it at 30 amps, it's going to charge it at 30 amps. Absorption is kind of like when it hit like probably 95 to 98% charge or over 90% charge. Don't hold me to that. Absorption is like it's slower at the battery is slowly accepting it. And then this third light is the float value. The float value means the battery is charged up, and now technically any devices that are running off it, it could probably run off the float because it could still provide electricity to power devices that are there. So why did I get all these different ones? That's a good question. Well, different ones are for different capacities. So 10 amps means it's going to charge between 12 and 14.2. That's what the usual charge for lithium iron phosphate batteries is. So we're talking about 128 watts maximum charge to the battery. This one would be about 280 watts, about, not more than 300. This one would be around 430, and this guy is about 980 at 70 amps for a 12 volt battery. What are the differences between some of them? What are some of the advantages to some of them as opposed to other ones? Well, the nice thing about the 150/70 TR is that it has the higher upper voltage limit. Notice the MPPT 100. That means the maximum input voltage is, for example, on these is 75. On these, you could do maximum 100, maximum 100, and on this one, you could do maximum 150. What's nice about this unit is that it could actually charge even 48 volt batteries. So it could do 12, 24, and 48 volts. At 48 volts, 70 amps, it could charge your battery at up to, I think, 3,000 watts or 3,500 watts, something like that. This one, this BlueSolar 120, can also do 48 volt output. That's what's nice about this unit, is this 30 amp and these 10 and 15 can do 12 and 24. Well, when you have 12 and 24 volt systems, 24 volt is easy to do with two 12 volt batteries. You could put them in series. So here's from the quick starter guide from the 30 amp charge controller. Notice, so nominal PV power. So 12 volts, it could charge at 440 watts. And at 24 volts, it could charge at 880 watts. So that's the basic difference. They all could do 12 and 24. I'm a 12 volt guy. The reason why I'm a 12 volt guy is that inverters, for example, you could have a 4,000 watt inverter from a 12 volt battery. Like, for example, down here, I have a Roarbat 4,000 watt pure sine wave inverter, beautiful unit, powering my gaming computer and my screen up here without an issue. So technically, most of the things that I need to get done, I could do with a 12 volt system. These are more designed for me to take traveling. So let's say if I only have one panel that I need to connect and have connected all the times, I would, if it's 100 watts or up to, let's say, 200 watts, I would probably use that first one, the 75 and 10. Because when you over panel, that's the ideal to get the maximum input current into the unit. Or let's say if I have a 200 watt panel, maybe I could use the 7515 so that even if it outputs the whole entire 200 watts, it could actually push 200 watts into the system. And then the 20 amps is kind of nice, is because it could do the 48 volts. And you might see over here, down here is a 12 to 24 volt boost converter. Why did I set it up this way? Well, this unit is going in my car. I have a program for a 12 volt battery, and all my batteries have these input terminals, with each terminal fused. On my car, I have them with 40 amp fuses on each line. So each 10 AWG cable, which I use here, 10 AWG, that's this kind of thick cable, can do, I think, up to 30 amps, or I think respectively probably 45 amps, because this connector by itself, this Anderson connector, I have a video. Search my channel for Anderson connector guide. In the beginning, I describe all the stuff, but about 50 minutes in, I talk about all the things you need to crimp on these yourself to make these custom cables. So this cable over here is a silicone coated cable that can do up to 30 amps without an issue. So that's why I've bought a lot of these MPPT 130. So this can push 440 watts into a 12 volt battery, which is fantastic because you could take, let's say, 3 200 watt solar panels. I have a way to parallel them, connect them here. On the input side connection, I have 4 inputs that have a diode in there. And input number 5 is without a diode. See, there's no diode, there's no little bump over here. What does a diode do? A diode only allows voltage one way in. The benefit of that is that I could use a power brick, like a 240 watt laptop power brick, to charge this unit. If you just connect one unit, this guy would overamp it because it could take up to 440 watts, and a 240 watt brick can't do that. So you need to put 3 in parallel. So it's going to take equally from each one of them. However, they have protections built into them that if it senses the voltage to be different from the other ones, because each one is an approximate voltage, 19.5, some are 19.6, some are 19.4. And the way electricity likes to work is it likes to go where there's a path of least resistance. So the charging brick that would have 19.4 volts might get electricity coming into it that is from a 19.5. So when you have a diode, it doesn't sense the other ones, and it's not gonna push the electricity backwards. It's back that way. Also, it's additional protection, because I do have fuses on my paralleled solar panels or paralleled power bricks. Yes, those have protections built in there too. This would actually not require. So even if one of the panels got short-circuited, it would not allow any electricity from the other panels to really flow back that way. And solar panels already have diodes in them. Okay, so another difference in these different panels, in these different systems. You see this fuse over here? And that fuse is to this battery line. So that keeps this unit from pushing more than 20 amps into the battery bank. Or let's say there's a short circuit in this unit and the electricity starts flowing back in, this would blow and disconnect it from the battery bank from causing any issues. And so up to the 20 amps, that's built into the system, which is kind of nice. So this one has a 25 amp fuse to the input. And notice to the PV inputs over here, that's for the load input, I have also a fuse, these automotive fuses. These are 10 AWG cables. So I do have either 20 or 25 amp fuse plugged in here. So even though if I'm paralleling 2 solar panels, there's not going to be, or 4 panels or whatever, there's not going to be a backflow of electricity. Let's say the panel got short-circuited or something like this. So what this allows me to do is connect this end, the connector, this transformer block, this boost converter, which boosts from 12 volts of the battery bank inside my car battery to 24 volts, because you can't charge one battery with another battery. You need at least 5 volts higher or something like this, something along those lines, than your battery voltage. So that's why I guess solar panels are like 18 volts, most of them that are portable, that gives you that minimum voltage. Interesting thing with power solar generators, they could go down to 12 volts. Maybe they already have a boost converter already built in there. However, I'm trying to do things my way, and what I'm planning to do is have 2 of these in my car, and I have 4 10 AWG cables going from there, so I could technically, theoretically charge a battery at 20 plus 20 plus 20 plus 20, 80 amps. That's over 1 kilowatt an hour just from my inverter. So a lot of times people buy a backup fuel generator. Well, if you could just put your car on idle and charge up a battery, why not? Like in an hour, you could get that charged up right from my alternator. My alternator can output up to 150 amps. So technically, if I take 80, it should be more than enough to keep the car operating, even have the heat going and stuff like that, without overloading anything, hopefully, because I am connecting a lot of amps to it. I did have to run a cable directly from the battery down to the back of the car, and I put fuses all along the different cables, so I'm not worried about over amping it, because everything is with these beautiful silicone cables, which have multiple strands in them, and use these Anderson connectors. These Anderson connectors are best thing since sliced bread, and I have them connected everywhere. The idea is this: I don't want those little screw-on terminals where it could just screw up. You know, like how do you connect the wire? You still have to somehow screw it on to the thing. So I believe this is the most professional way. Like, you know, I'm used to connecting like USB ports and stuff like that to the different things. So that's what the benefit is for the 10, 15, and 20 amps. So each one is kind of lighter. So notice this one, the 10 amp, it has like a plastic on the back. This one, the 15 amp, is the same size, which is about 4 inches by 4.5, something like that. However, the 15 amp is like twice heavier and has this metal backing on the back. However, all of them connect to the Victron software. So when you connect to the Victron software and you have internet connection, you could also update the firmware there, which is really cool. The 20 amp already has these nice big heat block on the back. So it's kind of like the same size, almost slightly bigger, but it has the heat sink array. What is this thing back here? That's a Lexan polycarbonate. Polycarbonate doesn't have like has a very, very high, you know, melting and burning point. It's like 300 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that. Ridiculous stuff. And it's actually super strong. I put these pre-drilled these holes is that because I'm designing these systems to be able to just plug and play. I just come to my off-grid cabin, mount this on the wall, connect the cables. I have fuses coming in on the input. See, I could change the input. I have multiple inputs. I could you know, always change out the fuses. I could plug it in, plug it out easily, stuff like that. That's very convenient. And on these units, I installed 50 amp power switches. So this one, for example, goes to the battery. So this one connects to the battery. I like the idea of going down. So the solar energy coming in from the top, wired into the, you know, and then to the battery, goes from here to the battery and downwards to the battery. From up here to the PV. So that's the only other thing that these units, the 10, 15, and 20s have that these units don't have, is this load feature. So the way that I see the load feature is that you could actually program it to turn on and turn off power after the light is out. So for example, you could say, I only want this socket, this power, to be coming out of it only when it's sunny. So you could set it up like that. Or you could set it up to be running all the time. Or you could set it up when it gets dark, it turns this light on, and you could have kind of like a street light effect that, you know, is gives you ambient, you know, some sort of lighting where you want it to do. So you could program it to do the stuff. So the way that I see it, I haven't tested the output voltage of each one of them. However, I'm guessing it's going to be similar to what's it's inputting into the battery, and it would take any extra from the battery into it and send it to the load. And I wouldn't expect it to be more than the 10 amps that this is rated for. And I wouldn't expect this to be more than 20 amps. So I would probably hit, if I can guess correctly, probably 10 amps, no issue. Maybe on this one, up to 20 amps could be done. So I still have like a 25 amp fuse just in case. This design is borrowed from cars. Cars, with each component, with each device, there's like a little fuse block, and it keeps each unit isolated. So if one of them gets short-circuited, it would just shut off the power to that line until you could fix it. So that's the idea. I have 12-volt batteries that I have these Anderson connectors on, so I can easily plug this in, plug it out, wherever I need it. It's portable. I could also use this to charge up off my car, or I could use this 12-volt boost converter to take another 12-volt battery and boost it to 24 volts to be able to charge another 12-volt battery. If you have a 48-volt battery that you want to charge, with 24 volt, you wouldn't want to use this bank because these are designed for maximum 480 watts. So this came with a lot of you could say trial and error, also thinking about it. So if these units are designed to do maximum 480 watts or 20 amps at 24 volts, and this guy at 20 amps to 20 times 14.2 is about 280 watts. So technically from each one of these charging bricks, or up boost converters, buck boost, I wouldn't be taking more than, let's say, 280, 300 watts coming out of here. So I wouldn't be overamping this guy. I wouldn't be overamping the wires. And it could work. I could just parallel multiples of them and get the charge that I want done. At 80 amps, you could charge at a pretty decent rate. And use that. I'm a 12 volt guy. So what can I say? And the other benefit is this, is the way that I see it, portability wise, is that let's say I have a 12 volt battery. I can connect two 200 watt solar panels. A lot of times I notice with my solar panels, they're not really producing more than 130, 140 watts. Technically, two 200 watt panels. By the way, I have, I think, $129 solar panel that I reviewed. So basically connect two of those and charge at 20 amps from each one of these charge controllers. So in my car, I could have 8 of those 200 watt panels and charge at 4 times 280, probably over a kilowatt of power. Yes, 1600 watt nominal. That's what we have to understand, is that with solar panels, you usually don't get the full power because there's always like a cloud rolling by, or you're not getting optimal conditions, or the angle isn't perfect, or it's the time of the year, or your latitude, things like this. So that's why I like to double up on it. So for portability wise, I like this idea. For a standard, more kind of like setup where I have lots of solar and I could just connect it to a wall, I like this one. For portability, this isn't as good because I tried making one of these, and when you put input 480 watts and this does 440, this guy gets really, really hot because you're sending too many amps. So I designed one where I took 3 of these in parallel. However, I found that they don't work in parallel. One would be like, for example, for the 480 watts, 430 watts, 440 or whatever it is, it would do like 180, 160, and like 110. So one would get really hot and the other one. So that's why I thought, hey, just charge it to 20 amps instead of the 30 amps. I wouldn't need to connect 3 different charging blocks. And since I have 4 wires running to the back of my car, by the way, I have a video about that, how I ran a wire through the entire Highlander from the car battery all the way to the trunk. I could connect just to one of the 4 ports via the Anderson connector and charge a battery at 80 amps. That's like ridiculous. And the additional benefit is this, is that solar generators, they have all these fans. When they're charging, they have all these fans running. They keep turning on fans all the time. And at least while you're charging, you don't really need those fans. You might want to like run an inverter and then let the fans turn on then. So that's the benefit, is that it's it's fanless. I love the idea of fanless. My PC is fanless mostly, except the graphics card. My CPU is fanless. I don't have other fans otherwise running it. So, sum it up. These things have a 5-year warranty. These are what I swear by. I've tried several different charge controllers out there, these portable ones, stuff like that. However, here's my thinking. My thinking is this. I might have a system where I just connect it and leave solar panels connected to it 24/7 for a long time. What do you trust your solar battery bank, or your battery bank in general, because you don't have to use solar. You could use Dell power supplies to, let's say, charge your battery with those. What do you trust 24/7 other than Victron to have that connected, because this is designed to be connected to a battery 24/7. It's not like a regular charger that stupidly just outputs the stuff. It's designed for those things. I would go into the software and I would change the battery type to, I would do user selected, select a setting, and I would do smart Life PO4 battery. That's the first thing set up. So first thing when you connect it, update the BIOS. It has a little exclamation point. I update the firmware on it, and then I set the battery to 12 volt to charge with smart Life PO4. So I like that part, that it could be connected to the computer system. Another point that I like is that you could connect it and see for the last 30 days the solar input that came in that this unit had go through it. So whether it's to charge the battery, it gives you, the bulk, absorption, and float. The little bar graphs, they show up how much it was bulk, how much absorption, and how much float was. So at some point it could be charged up, however, it's running on float. That means the devices that it's running off float is devices you're powering and that are running directly from the sun, technically. So that's what I also like about it. Portability wise, you just have to understand what the amps mean and stuff like this. So for me personally, this is the setups that I have. This one over here is a big boy. I have portable 400 watt solar panels that are like about 60 volts each. So I technically connect 3 of them here, and I could get the full 985 charge probably input into the battery using one of these. Or because I have 5 connectors to parallel them over here, I can connect 5 200 watt solar panels and charge at that rate. However, the benefit here is maybe it's better to have 4 of these, because as I told you, when you put these 4 banks together, it doesn't level it too good. One would output more power than the other one. I wouldn't want that overheating issues. And this one you could actually charge from another 12 volt battery or a 12 volt alternator on your car. So this one, portability wise, I like this. So I'm gonna have 2 sets of 2 in my car for that, and maybe 8 panels or 4 panels, something like that I could connect at least a solar panel to it and charge partially maybe from solar panels and partially from the car. Let's say I wanted to do that. And it's reasonably portable to charge the 12 volt bank. And then with the 12 volt bank, you can connect a 12 volt electric blanket or a lot of other 12 volt appliances that are designed for cars. You could connect a USB-C 100 watt adapter to power a MacBook Pro, or charge your cell phone, or charge an iPad at 30 watts using 12 volts. With 48 volts, you would still need to down convert, and you would need all these extra converters. I just decided, hey, 12 volts is what is standard most places. Yes, it doesn't charge as fast. Yes, you need more controllers for the same power output. However, the convenience of it, I find I like that I like my 12 volts, because the 12 volt, I could always boost to 24 volt. I could boost it to 19 volts for some mini PCs. I could do a whole bunch of different things. So size-wise, let's see. This guy over here, this bad boy is about 8 inches wide by about 5 inches tall. And this guy over here is about 6.5. These are approximate, by the way. 6.5 by about 5 inches. These little ones are probably about 5 inches by let's say 4 inches. I'm just calculating. So I'm happy I have all these. Next, let me show you the setup that I have on my wall and how I'm using this as a power backup, and maybe an idea that you could have, and then we can come up to the conclusions why Victron Energy is the best, and every other MPPT solar charge controller is not worth it because of the features that this one has. If you really want the Bluetooth functionality, I mean, go ahead. However, I also made a video saying that Bluetooth waves and all these different radio waves that we have surrounding us might be detrimental to the health. That's my opinion. And if you're running a Bluetooth chip on something, A, you paid for the Bluetooth chip, and B, it's probably taking extra energy to broadcast the signal all the time. But the way that I see it is that a unit like this is that if I connect this to my alternator and to my car system, I'm just going to know it's going to output 20 amps or like 280 watts or between 250 and 280 into my battery, and I'm not even thinking about it that I need to check every second the solar coming in. And if I wanted to, at some point, I could always connect a dongle that converts this to a Bluetooth or just a USB port, and always check the statistics for the past month, what the average power input that I'm getting over one unit over time. So over 30 minutes or over 30 days, it keeps it like that. So let me quickly show you one ways I'm running the setup, and then we'll get to the conclusion. All right, friends, so this is my setup using this Victron BlueSolar. So what I like is that it's not creating extra EMFs at my power station. I'm not using Wi-Fi on my computer. I'm using 10 gigabit Ethernet connection. I'm using the USB connectors, these little USB dongles, Victron USB, and that allows me to connect it to over here and see the power output. These whole units are powered by those 5 Dell 240 watt power bricks. They're connected to that power strip, so there's protections built into those, and also there's extra protection built into there, 50 amp, and over there is an inverter to run my monitor. And here's the battery bank. These are 300 amp hour batteries, Mueller. I did a review about it. And each one of these connections to the battery is a fused 40 amp connector, kind of like you would have in a car. Those blue connectors over there, those can do up to 350 amps. So that's how I paralleled these 3 batteries together to be able to combine the total capacity of these battery banks to a whopping 11 something kilowatts. And even this computer over here, you see down here is the connector, is powered by this 500 watt variable voltage input DC to DC power supply. So it's not even running off AC electricity in order to power it. So this is what the app looks like. And this is with the 2 charge connected. So basically my computer right now running off idle, see it float. Float means that the battery is charged up and it's still providing 50 watts. It's basically going directly into the desktop computer that this is powering. And then you could go over here, you could go to settings. That's what I also like about the Victron. Battery, you could do maximum charge current. You could change this to 20 or something like that. So let's say you don't want to overamp something. Charger enabled and battery preset, you could do rotary switch user defined or select preset. I do select preset and I do smart lithium life PO4 because you could charge all the different ones. However, that's how I set it up, and I just wanted to show you this in effect. So if you really think about it, if I'm taking 100 watts power and I have 11 kilowatts of electricity, technically I could run this computer system probably 3 to 4 days without an issue, and play all the games I want. Of course, gaming is going to take a lot more electricity. However, I do have a power efficient 3700X on this computer with an RTX 4070 Super. So, and you see over here, I showed you that it shows you the statistics. This is awesome. And you could also save them and stuff like that. Connect to your laptop, download the statistics. You see on float 8 hours and 59 minutes. So that means it absorbed it bulk 11% of the time, and the other wattage it just powered my computer this whole time, like in the dark blue. Bulk is the battery is still getting charged. This is, it's taking a little bit of juice, it's probably 95 charged, and then this is the battery is charged, and these controllers are directly powering my devices now. Am I saving electricity? Perhaps, maybe not, because I am converting back and forth. However, I do find that it might be beneficial to have a system like this, and no matter if you have a 10 amp one that you connect or the 70 amp, it still has the same Victron Connect software. It has all the updates. It gets this important information. It shows you the current. It shows you the lifetime total. It shows you these different statistics. You could reset the counter, boom, and see how much, you know, power you've been using and stuff like that. So keeping tabs on it. What I find is with some cheaper controllers, at least most of them, and most that I've seen out there, cheaper wise, they don't have this functionality that Victron does. So I would just go for Victron, know it's the best, and know that it's not gonna be, take the best and leave the rest. All right, friends, that was the tip of the iceberg explaining the different benefits of these different charge controllers. Hopefully, if you're shopping around and looking for the best charge controller to charge your solar system with, or have a backup power supply, or play around with one, you would be able to just look at this design and maybe copy this design. Obviously, caveat being an emptor, be careful when you're like plugging the plus to the plus, the minus to the minus. Be always use eye protection. You know, be very careful. You know, it's up to you, because, you know, everybody is responsible for themselves. So when you do these things right, and when you figure out how to use them, this is a skill for a lifetime. So the way that I see it is that 10-20 years down the line, especially with LiFePO4 batteries that could run for decades on end, without even like losing their charging ability to like the minimum amount, that you buy the system once and you could have your grandkids using this, which is kind of cool. The way that I see it is that even though I live in the city, I might in the future have property. I already just quickly mount this up to the wall in the barn, boom, connect some solar panels, and I already have DC electricity. Also, I think DC electricity is healthier, and every time you use a wall wart, you're actually converting DC electricity into AC electricity into DC electricity. So you just might want to switch over a lot of devices that you can into DC, and you could always use a smaller inverter. Like back there, I showed you a smaller inverter. Over here, I showed you a larger inverter that could do up to 4,000 watts. I just figure if something is going to be in touch with your battery 24/7, charging it up, getting the solar in, you would want it to be the best. You would want to be able to track it. You wouldn't be able to track the average statistics. Yes, like the downside maybe is that those solar generators that have the little screen that gives you the wattage coming in and stuff like that. However, you could just connect your laptop or an old laptop, or if you use the wireless connection, use the wireless app, stuff like that, and get it done that way. So for me, the way that I see it is that I could just mount this on my wall like you saw there. I have these already preset with these wires. There's a little bridge connector over here, this little clip that you could put in here, and these two wires, they come together in contact, and nothing could happen to them. And then possibly if I have outdoors places where I'm using this, I would probably put silicone tape around it so that water doesn't get in there. However, probably a little water wouldn't hurt this too much anyway. But you know, to each their own. You have to be always careful. I hope you enjoyed the video. So if you haven't thumbed up and subscribed yet, please thumb up and subscribe. See you in the next one. Links are below to the different stuff here, so you can find the stuff here. And check out my other videos, whether it's how to make this Anderson connector and why it's useful. Basically, a whole bunch of these different things. The Mueller battery, the 300 amp hour battery. I have a lot of different battery reviews, solar panel reviews. So, all right, friends, I'll see you in the next one, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Have a great day. Bye.